And this is one of my favorite activities, events that we do here at the Temple of the Universe. And I found it to be incredibly powerful. And it's incredibly powerful because there's a history and a tradition. There's so much Shakti in the temple, but it's also this sense that there's a whole group, hundreds of people all aligned to the same purpose. And in our little group here today, we have that same purpose, that same intent. And for, gosh, I don't know how many years, 50, 40 years, this fire has been happening every New Year's Eve. And for the 33 years that I've been there, I've been participating. And I can promise you that from my own life and my own activities and what I've seen in others, that what you write down as part of your letting go will be addressed, and often in the form of a challenge. That the universe will be ready to provide whatever the sandpaper of life is to help you see very completely and fully what it is you want to let go of. And if you choose to let go of something, but there's yet a deeper cause to whatever it is you'd like to let go of, that will be revealed as well. So I'm asking you all to be really brave because it can be so challenging. It's pretty amazing, honestly. And those of you in this group have been through this before will recognize that. Will verify that. So I've organized a worksheet, and you can find this on my website at timodavis.com, or I can email it to you if you email me. I'm going to put it up here so that we can walk through it. And this is a mashup of the temples, letting go, my vision of how to create a spiritual path for yourself in the upcoming year. I'm hesitant to call them goals because Mick is so, specific about that, but they are goals, all right, and that's okay. We're going to talk about setting them in a way that's dharmic, okay, so that I feel strongly that they're supporting you in your spiritual growth and your ability to be happy and healthy humans, all right. And as we go through this, it's going to have a really strong Yogananda flavor today, and I've pulled Yogananda quotes to support some of the different categories and things we're going to talk about. And I'm going to walk through the list, and that'll take 20 minutes, half an hour or so, maybe less, maybe more. And then I'm going to open up the floor for you guys to share. And I just would like to hear what it is you are thinking of going through, what it is you'd like to talk about. Like if you want some other ideas about how you let go, we'll talk about that. And then you can fill out this worksheet or just write down what you want on a piece of paper that you hold on to or in an email. And my offer is if you can't be here on New Year's Eve, that you email it to me and I will throw it in the fire on your behalf. And I invite you to be, have as much discretion as you want to use for some of the things that you'll be letting go of or whatever it is. That just know that what really matters for this whole practice is your intention, right? That sense that you've got an agreement between you and your higher power, God, the quantum field, however it is you like to consider that. That's where the juice of this practice lies, is you and your higher power, you and God. So whatever you send me will be good enough, and that physical representation of putting in that fire and paper in the fire will be what fuels a little bit extra of community and intention and the Shakti of the temple. So that's what we're going to do. So here it goes. I'm going to post my sheet and then we're going to talk about this. And like I said, there'll be a lot of Yogananda in here. Trying something new here, so I hope this works. Okay. All right. So you guys can see me with my document behind me? Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So I'm going to walk through this. And the first couple of Yogananda quotes that I want to read that really guide how we look at this process. Success must be measured by happiness, by your ability to remain in harmony rather than by health, prestige, or wealth. If you have lots of health and lots of wealth, lots of trouble with everybody, including yourself, you have very little. The entire purpose of life is futile if you cannot find happiness. And I would subscribe that all the religions and spiritual techniques, philosophical paths that have ever been defined have always been about being happy, creating a more satisfying path in life. So this is no different. We're picking a way and we're following with the purity of this, strategy that we're using, but there's many other ways, and I acknowledge that, but this is a really good one, and I'm really happy to share it with you. And the next Yogananda quote is, fear is destructive to the initiative, courage, judgment, common sense, and willpower. So at the core of what we're letting go of, generally, there's fear. All right. So at the top of my sheet, and let's see, make sure, things to let go. Can you guys see section 1? Give me a thumbs up if you get that. All right, perfect. Thank you. I've got a quote from Lao Tzu. When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. When I let go of what I have, I receive what I need. So section 1 is the traditional temple way of looking at letting go. And for example, in my early years, my I noticed that a thing that was holding me back, both professionally and in relationships, with a real strong sense of defensiveness. And so I wrote down defensiveness, and I wrote it a number of years. And the first layer of that defensiveness was really addressed in the first time that I wrote it down, which was just that sense of not being present in the midst of a difficult situation where my ego was being challenged. And as I worked through years of letting go of defensiveness, it really came down to ego and wanted to be perceived a certain way. So that's the process, is to write down those things that you see and feel that are real to you, where you feel friction in life, where you feel difficulties with other people, where you feel like you're just not clicking with the world in general, where there's emotional pain, there's physical pain, there's a sense of frustration, anxiety, those moments inside yourself where you realize that resistance to life, and do your best to write that down. So that's the first layer that I like to look at of letting go, is the things that are really holding you back from being the person you want to be. Okay. And then secondarily are the kind of habits maybe that you're going through. Like if you're a smoker, or you feel like you're overeating or eating the wrong things, then this is a really good place to create an intention to eat better, to do better with all the things that contribute to your ability to function as a yogi, seeking the best that you can be. In my own example, and I actually started this early this year, and I've done this a couple of times in my life, and it's really hard for me, honestly. But I quit caffeine and sugar, like hard sugar. Some sugar is going to sneak in, bread, whatever. And I find that when I do that, it really lends to my clarity of purpose. It reduces my anxiety. And it just takes a couple of weeks to work the toxins out of my system so that I can, kind of return back to normal. But I'm close to 2 weeks. I think Monday or Tuesday will be 2 weeks of that. So you can do it too. So that's what it is. And think broadly about this. And I've got 5 lines, do what you need to do, but really look at what it is that's holding you back. And one of the things that I think is really important to acknowledge at this point in this process is that all the great spiritual traditions that really have power acknowledge that you came to earth beautiful, that you at your consciousness and your soul level are beautiful, untainted, filled with power and light, filled with the kind of love that it takes to just have everything that you could ever want and to treat yourself incredibly well, not because of shame or guilt, but because of you love yourself. You love this being that you are. And that this process of letting go is about peeling away the things that aren't serving you, or your some scaras, your the old traumas that have affected how you are. This is your time to write those things down that maybe are memories that you're aware of, like fully formed memories where some abuse or some harmful thing happened to you that kept you from sort of, maybe you couldn't deal with them. Let's put it that way. In the moment that they happened to you, you didn't have the spiritual tools or the strength to deal with them, and you suppressed them. And those some scaras, those old things that happened to you can really create a defensive response or a painful response or a even a sense of just freaking out. Like if you notice that you have buttons that get pushed, that people can push your buttons and you get stimulated, or people can get in your head, so to speak, trash talk you, whatever it is in life that you find gets inside and distracts you from the truth of who you are, that's what we're working on. We're trying to get to the real core of who we are: consciousness, awareness, love, purpose, the soul. All right. That's what we're letting go of. Now, section 2 is Polestar values. Can you guys see that? You can see that? Okay, good. So I want to read a quote from Yogananda. Again, to lead a successful life, you must first have a dominant purpose. That purpose must be the right one for you. Then all the powers of God will guide you in your plans and activities. Yogananda was the master of will. And, if you listen to Mickey talk, you'll know that Yogananda is his guru, is his master. And that strength of will that Mickey demonstrates is responsible for this whole opportunity that we have to come to the temple. And I just want to acknowledge the beauty and the power that Mickey has created in the temple, this fire, and all that he's done. I just so love what he's given to the world. And honestly, this effort, if there was a why to why I'm doing this, it's to share some of the tiny bit of what I've picked up from him over the years. So your Polestar values, Mickey would always say his is to go to God, right? For the rest of us, sometimes it's helpful to look at a little more granular look at what your Polestar values are. So maybe it's going to God, maybe it's making the most of who you can be, maybe it's creating yourself as the most helpful, most serviceful person that you can be. Maybe it's whatever that is for you. Think about what really matters to you, what matters in your life, what you're working towards, and why. This why is incredibly important. This why is your purpose. And as Yogananda says, you pick the right one for you, then all the powers of God will guide you. So you're looking for that alignment. So when you do something and when you pick a resolution or some habit that you want to create, it has to be in service of these Polestar values. So this is incredibly important that you just take some time to think about what it is. And if you find that what you're looking for is coming from an external source, then ponder that. Think about that. There's a quote that I left off from here, but I'm gonna throw it in. But Yogananda talks about how that your life is your own, and everything that you do is result of your own work. And you have a dharma to take care of yourself, a purpose in life to be your own steward. And that means taking care of all the resources that you've been given. So this purpose is a lot about that. And that's also a beautiful way to lead into the next step, which is spiritual practices and habits. So this is always worth an annual review, because spiritual practices and habits are how you empower your own being to fulfill your dharma and to see your to feel your dharma. And if dharma is a new word for you, if it doesn't really have like a really pure English translation, but I like to look at it as your responsibility in life as a steward of all that's been given you, including your heart, your mind, your soul, your body, your relationships, your business, your work, your resources, your money, your health. That as a spiritual being, your dharma is to take care of all of that and to be the best that you can be with everything you've got. So, spiritual practices, that's a great way to get in touch with your consciousness, your mind, your heart. Mindfulness is, in essence, in its purest form, how you watch the resources that are your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions. And when you work with them through meditation, chanting, whatever it is that makes sense for you, walking meditation, sitting meditation, affirmations, doing the Sri Atma Gita, these are ways that you take care of the core part of you that support your Polestar values. So when you create spiritual practices and habits, they have a purpose. They support that great purpose of being happy and at peace. But whatever it is that you dictate is your Polestar value, these practices will drive that. They will power your ability to be clear, to be in flow with life. When they align with your purpose, your spiritual practices just make you unbeatable. And if we stop there with a list, you'll notice this will be the best year. 2025 will be the best year you've ever had. When you get to the end of 2025, you'll look back on this sheet and this time we spent together and remember the sincerity and the purity of the purpose that you put all these thoughts down on paper, and you'll be so much happier, so much more at peace. These practices are powerful. So section 4, other goals. This is a space for you to record your fitness ambitions, business goals, relationship goals, other aspirations that you will work towards. Now, I want to talk about that a little bit, because very often we create intent from a platform of fear that we're not good enough, that there's something that needs to change in us, that we're falling short. And I'm going to encourage you, as you look at whatever it is you write down here. For me, I'm trying to get more fit. I'm exercising. I want my body to be strong so I can be healthy and serve. I want to be able to serve to a ripe older age. So I'm doing that from a sense of purpose, from service and love for myself, not fear. So if you see fear guiding your other goals, then just explore that a little bit. If you see your other goals as a representation of wanting outside or external people to be different around you, then you have to consider that differently. These goals are about you and yourself. This isn't about asking the world to be different, asking the world to supply you with something or to give you something. If you work on yourself, the world will become what you need. So this is the place to consider that. From a core, from a root of love, from a root of service, consider how you can strengthen your position in life. And this is a great place to talk about Dharma yet again. It's that you have a Dharma to take care of yourself. Whatever it is that you need to first of all survive, then it's your responsibility to take care of that, to be responsible for that. That's what the Dharma is. If you need money, then it's your Dharma to work. And if you want to create a better life, then it's your Dharma to do what it takes to do to find the kind of life and build the kind of life that supports your spiritual work and your Polestar values. So remember, everything in all of the sections is in support of these Polestar values. So put some consideration into that. New Year's Eve, I'd like to have, if you would like me to throw them in the fire, you'll send them to me. But take your time, meditate on them. I like to take practices like this and consider them in a variety of emotional states, like first thing in the morning when I've got that morning energy, late at night when I've got that sort of evening energy. Watch your mind, watch how the mind works. So different parts of the day, it'll treat you differently. And consider all of these sections and put together what you really want to see happen in your life. So with that, I'm going to open up the floor and just spend a couple minutes hearing from everybody about what they would like to do. And if there are questions, we can start with those. You can raise your hand, you can wave at me, or even use the little hand reaction thing in Zoom. All right, Michael and Carrie, how are you guys? Unmute. I want to just hear a hello and hear your voices and talk about what's going on with you.
Hey there. How are
Hi,
you?
Carrie.
I
Good to
love
see you.
this. This is so great. Thank you for doing this. Yeah, it's funny. I noticed as I was doing this, it's I think it'll be interesting to consider this because as I was even thinking about it, I'm like, oh, I need to do this. Like the anxiety of I want to do it and I want to do it perfectly.
Yeah.
Just came up even just in doing this, which is just something to look at, just thinking, oh, I got to get it perfect.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to tell you that your intention is what really matters, right? And it's never a pure sense of expression, in prayer or with even other humans. I'm sure anybody, who's ever been in a relationship can testify to that communication is imperfect, but this is one case where your intention will cover all sins of communication or all errors of communication, right? So yeah, and you can do this, through a series of passes, right? Just like make a pass and then see how that sits with you and then make another pass. But yeah, don't get too hung up on the perfection of this because this is an alignment of will and purpose, and your willingness to even consider all this will just propel your growth. So that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That's
And where
beautiful.
where can we find the document?
It's on my website, and
Okay.
if you and I'll show you in a minute, or I can send it to you too if you send me your email. I don't know if I have your email or not, but if you email me at tim@timodavis.com, I will send it to you.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. So Nick, how are you doing today? Nick N. And yeah, oh, I think you might be using somebody else's Zoom account perhaps, but you and yeah, unmute, and I'd love to hear from you.
Okay. Yes.
Perfect. Oops. Oh, you remuted.
I have to speak. Okay. So, hi, Tim.
Hi.
Um, Great. I'm so glad I jumped on this first thing in the morning for me here on the West Coast. And
Oh yeah.
yes, fear is, you said, is a driving factor in all humans, probably from beginning of time, babies. But yeah, yesterday I came in touch with how much guilt I have about
Mm,
how I have to be a certain way and how I have to apologize for myself and that I've never done things right for people and then I have to sort of like apologize first. So this is like in my
mm,
family. Like, what the heck? So I came across that. I know it's been there underlying for years and years and years. I'm going to look deeper into all of that, and I'll let it go.
that's beautiful. Yes, this, these, like if you write down exactly what you said, you'll get serious results. And I shared at the beginning that I had the experience that my simple request to deal with my defensiveness led to a really years long sort of walk through layers of fear and control and ego, right? And even the sense that you have to apologize can often be, there'll be elements of fear in there, right? And there'll be elements of ego in there, and there'll be elements of some scars, the old pain that has been accumulated through the course of your life that you weren't, in a position to deal with it. You didn't have sort of the tools to relax around it and let it go. And my warning slash inspiration is that when this comes up, it's going to feel very much like it felt when it went down, and that can be painful, right? So as you all go through painful experiences, that's your cue to let go, and that's your cue that it's working. So your ability to relax through pain, to breathe and relax through emotionally difficult situations after, New Year's will be a direct result of this intention that you set and your willingness to let go. So I hope that doesn't scare you, but those kind of family things can have a lot of pain around them, I'm sure. Like, anything that's sort of convincing you that you're not good enough is essentially a shitty thing and it's going to hurt. But I swear, like, just breathe and relax and walk through it. It won't last forever, and that pain will free you. It's my favorite chapter of The Untethered Soul, chapter 11. I've got it memorized. Pain, the price of freedom. So if you want to, get a little alignment around that whole the chapters prior to that too, that whole section. That's part 3. The Untethered Soul comes in 5 parts, and that part 3 will talk a lot about how to work with your pain in a constructive way. So thank you. That's a great question. That was really helpful. Beautiful. Michael, and if anybody wants to talk, raise your hand. And thank you, Michael, for putting the link to the forum on the chat. That's really helpful.
No problem. Yeah, I've got some stuff written down. I'm going to go through the worksheet as well. I noticed for a few of my intentions, I feel like there's a healthy amount of fear. It's not like the primary driver. Like, for example, my health is something I want to focus on. And I've got some injuries that if I ignore them for another 20 years, there's a fearful future there. So I don't know. I'm not found, especially with health, like fear can get me into the gym. And then once you're in the gym for a while, all the positive driving benefits show up.
Mm,
So I just noticed that when you were talking. Another one that I'm focusing on this year is with money and finances. It's an interesting subject when you're focusing on spiritual growth. But I watched an interview with Gajendra and somebody who visited the temple, and they interviewed him on his financial philosophies. And he treats money as Lakshmi and has this respectful relationship with the energy of money. And I've really been reflecting on that and trying to adopt that perspective where, you know, it's not the be all end all, but it is a very powerful manifestation of the energy, and probably one that you should have a healthy relationship with. And I think that is rooted in respect, and respect
Mm.
just how you handle money. So those are two that I'm working on. I'm trying not to like come up with a list of. I did this last year. I wrote like an entire page of stuff and just threw it in the fire. And I don't even remember what I wrote. I'm sure a lot of it got worked on, but I'm
Mm.
trying to keep the list a bit shorter. So I'll maybe keep it to 3 or 4.
Pages.
Yeah,
Yeah,
3 or 4 items.
that's beautiful. You know, Mickey, I've heard Mickey say this a lot, and my God, it's chilling for me to hear this because, you know, I'm working through my relationship with money too. So I you know, that's an area of growth for me, and I'll be definitely working on that. But he talks about how like his money is God's money, right? And so when he works with money, he's literally like, okay, this is God's money, and I'm just the steward of it. I'm the caretaker, like almost like God's accountant, if you will. And so I think that's a really interesting viewpoint to take, right? This isn't your thing. This is a thing that that you work with in your service towards your Polestar values, right? So that's an interesting way to kind of create that sense of respect around, you know, your physical health, your monetary, you know, worth, or your the resources that are at your hand, right? Everything, right? Your vehicles. It's all about, this is how I serve. This is how I grow, and this is how I serve. So
Yeah, I was talking with Sam about it, and like next to like life force energy, it's kind of, it might be the most important flow of energy on the, like it keeps everything going. And I was just thinking about like, from like bad debt to bad spending, like that's equivalent to blockages that get in the way of it flowing properly.
yeah,
And so you kind of have to do your work to clean it out before you can be a good accountant for God. I
yeah,
think.
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, that's really deep. It can be a real hindrance. It really can. It can cause a lot of problems, but it can solve a lot of problems too. So just keeping it at the level of being one of the things that are tools in your life, but not the source of your happiness, right? Thank you. Anita, you raised your hand. Awesome. And everybody else, you can do that too, even physically or as Anita has. So, hi, how are you doing?
Hi, I am good. I am good. So thanks for emailing me this last week. So it gave me a little bit of time to work on it.
Good.
And the first thing that I came up with was sadness.
Hmm.
I have lost 4 family members in 3 years, and I am just tired of being sad. I am tired of being sad.
Mickey talks, you know, about when you love someone, you know, it's inevitable that we're all going to pass, right? And we have to accept that. And he talks about how when we experience pain because of a family member or loved one leaving, that it's a way of saying I love you to them, right? And I really love that. That sense that you miss them. You literally miss them. But the greater truth is that nothing bad has happened,
True.
right? And that
Right.
they would want you to be happy and successful and of service. And that by freeing up your energy to move forward, you create the possibility of sharing love with other people in the now, in the moment you live in, and in your future. So this is a great time to look at what it is you miss about them, but to also make an agreement with yourself that because those people were so beautiful, it doesn't mean that you'll never find other beautiful people or experience love on your own. So you have a chance to recreate your love life in a way, if you want to look at it that way. And much of the work that we do is about letting go of how the past controls us.
Yes. Yes.
And so you can do it. At any, I've experienced loss and rebounded. And if a fuck up like me can do it, I know you can too. Right? So I'm just going to offer you that blessing that
Thank you.
that if you put this in the fire and you see that you have if you can imagine it happening and you have the willingness to go through the fire of letting go of this, it will happen and love will re-enter your life. You don't have to be sad. You don't have to be sad.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was a beautiful sharing. Byron.
Yeah, Tim. Hey, first of all, thanks for doing this and all you do there. I'm so grateful for all you do and every aspect of this temple experience. I can't tell you how grateful we are to be here. I think I speak for my sweet spouse, and she's going to say yes there too. Yeah, one thing that I wrote down on here, and I don't know who it was. It might have been Mataji, maybe. Mickey refers to her and says, "Don't you love it when they yell at you?"
Yeah.
Yeah. And that leads into, people who you don't get along with, holy people that are kind of difficult. You don't know how to navigate around them. And I'm a work in progress. I am nowhere near this yet, but I have understood probably more clearly since I came to the temple, some of that reaction, some of that, I don't want to call it repulsion. That's too strong a word, but some of that discomfort is just a pure reflection of your own insecurities. That's what it is. And if you look at it that way, at some point along the path, and like I said, I'm nowhere near it, you learn to thank those people because they are your teachers.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm working on it. Let's put it that way.
That's beautiful. I really love that because there's so many realms in life where people can get under your skin, right? And if you feel like a lack of love coming from the outside world, it's like you said, there's some thing inside
Yeah.
that's raising that. And if you feel insecurity, there's some conditioning or past event that caused you to be sensitive to that, right? Like something that happened where you didn't have the ability to be confident in yourself or love yourself or
Yeah.
to feel the strength of your own being, right?
Yeah.
And again, all of those things are just layers that are put over the truth of who we are. The
Yeah.
need for other people to love us, the need for us to, be approved of by other people, that sense that other people can actually, dictate how we feel about ourselves. Those are just those are layers of misunderstanding. Those are deceit. They're not true. At the core, you are pure and light, and no one can hurt you, like physically, emotionally. It's just the work. And that's why the spiritual practices are so important, because when you meditate, you start to see the untruth of pain that people cause you externally.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Now you'll feel it, right? It's natural
Yeah.
if somebody, walks up and calls you an asshole or whatever, it's going to hit your shit. But like you said, like that's how you learn where your shit is, and you get to watch it and you get to let go, and you can become like in Taoism, they call it being like water, right? The sense that you just flow through these situations, and that when somebody attempts to block your energy, you just keep it going. And that's why the relax and release is such an important concept. So just quickly, I want to just throw this out for everybody. I talk to this about everybody that, and this is like so helpful. I teach this in prison, right? Because in prison, if somebody triggers you, and in a sense, what you're talking about are varieties of triggers, right? Where somebody can come up and push a button that's on you, and now you're responding and having an emotional reaction based on what they are doing to you, not what you want for your own being. You're losing control of yourself. You're not in ownership of your own energy at that point. And in prison, that can become important because if people trigger you, you can it can affect how much your gain time. It can have an effect on when you get out. It can have an effect on if you have to go to the box, like prison within the prison, right? So this is what I teach the guys in prison, and I swear it works. Like at that moment when you feel discomfort, when you feel that sense of tension, just take a second and take a breath and just notice it. Notice it where it hits in your body. In fact, just take a second and picture in your own being right now the last person who triggered you and what it felt like inside. Feel that. And where did you feel that? Where in your body or in your energy system, your mind, your heart, where did you become aware that you were disturbed? And then sense that disturbance physically, if it's appropriate, and just relax around it. And one of the things that's most important about relax and release is that when you put your awareness on that point of disturbance, you're allowing it to be lifted from you. It's not your job to release it as an activity or an action that you undertake. You're merely unholding it, letting go of that energy that's in you. And breath will help with that just incredibly. You'll get a sense, in fact, of the breath as a purifying agent, detoxifying you from those points that are getting triggered, the points of pain, anxiety, fear, anger, samskara that are getting triggered. And when you breathe and you relax, you're allowing them to be released. So that's just it's a thing I believe it has helped me so much in my life. Dang it, I can't remember his name. Viktor Frankl was in a concentration camp. He's a great philosopher. And he talked about how between that moment of stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space, you get to choose your destiny. You get to pick your action. And all this work is about creating that space, having a physical and mental activity that you can do to at least create just a little bit of space so that you're in a state of intention instead of being in a state of reaction. So
My favorite quote. Yeah.
that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That thank you so much.
Thank you,
PJ,
Tim.
you're welcome. Hi PJ, how are you? Oh, yeah, you're muted, honey.
Yes, hi, Tim. It's so good to see you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for doing this. I am in the car driving towards Florida and making crazy amount of notes. And I'm gonna be at the temple the 31st, so I'm super excited.
Good.
Hey, Tim, can you repeat quote that you just said because I missed that?
Yeah.
You said your favorite quote to create space, right?
I'm actually going to look it up just to make sure I'm getting it right because
Yeah.
I have a tendency to make it my own sometimes. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Excuse me. There it is. Yeah, it's all right. Viktor Frankl. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space lies our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, I just love that because like everything that Mickey teaches is essentially the same thing. And truth is just supported by truth.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. I love that. I have another question, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Can
Yes.
you explain to me, and I don't know if other people get it, what you said in the beginning? You said if we throw away our things that we want to let go of in the fire, the universe is going to give us a challenge to. I didn't get that. Do you mean that if you throw away, like for instance, fear or whatever, the universe will create a challenge to prove that? Or can you elaborate on that for me?
Sure. Sure. It's not so much a challenge as it is a natural letting go response, right? That when you pinpoint something that is a problem for you and you're working to let go of it, and you ask the universe to take it from you, it will take it from you. It will aid you in the release of that samskara. The thing is that samskara is almost always created as the result of a painful point in your life, a difficulty, a challenge, anxiety, fear, whatever that was. Like when something really difficult happens to you in life and you don't have the tools to deal with it, you suppress it.
Yeah,
It gets stuffed into your subconscious. And that's a way of avoiding the pain of the moment so that you can function, and sometimes that's the best you can do. But in that stored scar, that pain, that trauma, that whatever that was, when it comes back up, it's going to be exactly the same challenge that it was when you stuffed it down.
yeah, yeah. And then
Okay.
hopefully you can deal with it better.
With intention, you know, and
Mm,
that's really the purpose of this exercise is like you're kind of forewarned and you're like, you're prepared for it. And what I'm
yeah,
going to tell you is that like you do that, if you go through this enough, PJ, like you'll start to see a real pattern, a real linkage between experiencing that old pain and this real burst of opening energy that happens after you release it.
yeah,
And so the pain isn't really the last step. It's that sense of enthusiasm that comes when you do this enough. And you know that when you feel pain, discomfort, anxiety, that's God, the universe, calling forth your blockage. And that, as Byron was saying earlier, that's a blessing. That's your cue to let go. And it's going to hurt in that moment. But when you're done with it, that's what freedom feels like. That is freedom. And the beautiful thing about spiritual growth is that, there's a lot of people in the courses that I teach and the people that I work with who have this idea that spiritual growth is about attaining a level or a space or like a high like some level, right? And it's really not. It's about continual growth. And every
mm,
time that you work through the release of a samskara, it just feels incredible. You get a whole nother plateau. And Mickey talks about this. He talks about how it's a stairway to heaven, right? And it's like you kind of get on a flat for a while, right? Where your stuff is coming up and you deal with it, and there's just difficulty. The various manifestations of your blockage will be in your face for some period of time. But then you hit this point when you almost get tired of it. Like Aunt Anita was talking about like getting tired of being in pain, right? And sometimes that getting tired of it, you just say fuck it. It responds this release that happens, and you get your like growth, right? And I've another way that we store pain and frustration is through the stories that we tell ourselves, right? The narratives that we create around the things that bother us. And at some point, you'll just get bored with your story, and you'll like, oh fuck, I can't do the story anymore. And you let go of that, and it just spawns a release. So yes, to sum all that up, you're likely to feel discomfort as a result, a direct result of your choice to create a letting go. But that pain, that discomfort is what's behind your freedom. It's what's going to guide you to freedom. It's going to guide you to freedom. Okay.
So the pain is more before the letting go, and the freedom is after the event of letting go, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Your choice isn't causing you pain. It's only bringing up old pain that
Yeah.
you stuff down there and you're carrying around. And carrying around pain is just an incredible energy waster. Like you just feel tired all the time from, the sense that because you're actually holding some scars down in one sense, and they're fighting to get up. So you're resisting yourself. Like you're fighting against your own energy to hold these things down. And when they finally come up, it hurts, but it's like bursting a boil. It's like cleaning a wound, and it's so healthy. So that's my
Wow.
prayer and hope for you all, that when it comes up, that you've got the equipment in the morning and the tools, that what we talked about earlier, right? After Byron spoke, I gave a whole thing on how to let go, how to walk through that. Just do that breathing and keep your awareness in that Viktor Frankl space, right? And that will let it go. You don't have to lift it out, and you don't have to work to find it. Nature,
It'll
that
come.
yep, it'll bubble to the surface as it has to. Hi,
Wow.
Michael.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. My pleasure. Hi,
I just,
Carrie.
yeah, I don't know why I've never gotten this before this way, but I just wanted to underscore it. That when we store our pain and frustration in the story, like we store in the story, like, I don't know, the same word, just like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. A story is a storehouse of meaning, right?
yeah, I
That's
like
interesting.
that.
I would love to look at the etymology of that and see where that comes from.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else before we raising hands? Anybody got anything to say? All right. So just quickly, I want to share with you my website, and if you want to, where you can find the form, and it's and again, thank you, Mike Cahill, for posting that link. Do 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 do. That. Funny, it looked different before. Oh, there we go. So that's my website. Looks like this. But under free workshops, we've got, this is the description of the one that you're in. The next one will be 10:30 to 11:30 on December 31st, New Year's Eve. And down here, we've got this form where you can register to get this form, or if you send me an email at tim@timodavis.com, I will send you a copy of my letting go list that we looked at today. And if it interests you, I'm doing a program, daily New Year's support, and it's on my website for New Year's support. And it's going to be a daily touch, weekly Zoom check-ins, daily short video of encouragement, the letting go list, which you've actually already got. We're all going to be on a WhatsApp list where we will, that's where we'll get the videos and we'll have some support. And I've got some course work around this too. Let's see if I can show you that. Oh, that's it's 120 bucks if you'd like to do it. And if money's a problem, please talk to me, and we'll figure something out. I want to make sure everybody who wants to do this can do it. Let's see if I've got this right. Oh yeah, here it is. Here. So here's some of the coursework too. Power of intention, setting intentions for the course, recognizing that what no longer serves you. So I've got some coursework here too, in support of this, which you can use to charge and regenerate through January. It'll be all through January. The meetings right now are tentatively planned for, they're going to happen at either 8 or 9 o'clock on Saturday mornings. And if the time doesn't suit you, we'll figure something out. That's what I got. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you guys all have a beautiful day, and much love to you all. Just quickly, I'd like to close with a prayer or intention, if I may. So again, bring your attention to your inner being, to yourself, to the voice inside your heart, your consciousness. Dear God, help us to feel the depth of our being, to clearly understand what it is that we need to face inside ourselves in order to reach the highest and best potential that we have. As an act of love and compassion for ourselves, help us lift and remove and be aware of the obstacles to our growth, those things we need to let go of. And help us to have the strength and the will to grow as high and as fast and as powerfully as we can. Amen. All right. Everybody have a beautiful day. It was a pleasure and an honor to spend time with you, and I look forward to seeing all y'all either here
Thanks,
Thank
Tim.
you.
Thanks, Tim.
or at the temple. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.